بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وأصحابه وأجمعين. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How you guys doing?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
How are we talking about today?
We're talking about the idea of seeking marriage. I mean, it's a topic that like every single time we bring it up, people seem to want to listen in. I guess they want like everybody has their own perspective on marriage. People got their own like cultural bias on marriage.
Subjective.
Like, yeah, it's a very subjective topic. And I mean, like, because at the end of the day, like you get to choose your spouse, but you're doing so for the sake of Allah. You're doing so in a way that you will bring yourself ultimately closer to Allah. Like you want this spouse to be your spouse in Jannah as well. Why do you think that there's a difference between when we say imra'atu and zawj? Yeah, like there's a difference between that.
Marriage in Islam is like you're a zawj, you're a pair. And that's very like lost nowadays. Very unrespected title. Like marriage is very like it's lost. Like if we're being honest, it's broken. The idea of a family, having a marriage, having a wife and a husband that you can talk to without
it's like the values that you're supposed to bring to each other. Like obviously men and women, we're not the same.
Yes.
Like we all know we're not the same. We're equal as human beings.
No,
as human beings we are equal, but we're not the same.
We have equity.
Yeah. Like everybody brings something to the table. A man brings something to the table and a woman brings something to the table. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed things that the man and women should be doing in terms of a marriage. Like a man is supposed to provide.
Like the men are the caretakers of women.
Yeah.
Look, basically what you guys are saying is Islam says, look, men and women, not one is supposed to be better than the other. But when they come together, they can create something unlike anything else, right?
Beautiful, yes.
So like, imagine like, two people, right? A man and a woman, they come together and they make a beautiful creation, like, let's say a child, right? Mm-hmm. Or a beautiful home, or things like this, right? They bring values to other people around them, brings value to the community, brings value to the nations, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is beautiful. This is how a marriage should be. And as zawj, like you guys should be a pair.
Exactly. You guys should be working with each other, not against each other, right?
And that's another thing. When seeking to get married, people have this idea that you have to be already substantiated. Like, why couldn't it be that a woman, like say if you're a young man aspiring, say 19, 20, like, oh, I have to wait to get married. No, you don't have to wait. What if your wife can help you? Support you. Sometimes you need that emotional support to get to where you're going. And Allah will provide for you.
Yes, what you are saying is right. But look, you have to understand, right? Nowadays, sometimes the parents make it hard.
Yeah.
They don't want their kids to get married, or they say you have to finish school first.
System, like systematically.
Yeah, exactly. The system, the system that we grow up in, especially, living here in America, is very difficult to want to get married at a young age, right? Like, look, for example, right? Who in America really wants to get married, right? Everything is, against the husband.
Yeah, so-called. Like, think about it systematically. We live in like, even though it might not seem like it, a feminist marriage-based society. The women, they're indoctrinated. Like, women have this power over men, where at minimum, if they were to divorce, which is now encouraged in our society, this is disliked in the eyes of Allah. If a woman were to divorce a man, at minimum, she'll keep his money, half of his money, at minimum, which is crazy to think about. She'll take the children. She'll find another man who will also provide for her. And now the man is left in shambles, paying money every month to a woman that he lost, and now he is by himself. Mm-hmm. Like, could you imagine? Who would want to get married in a society like this, or a system like this?
Allah has made it very easy for us to get married. The Quran and the Sunnah. If we abide by the Quran and the Sunnah, it is very easy to get married, and it's also very easy to get a divorce. It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be painful. Like, no, I'm not saying like as in like it's not stressful and painful, like losing someone like you were just married to. But I'm talking about it is, it's not in the way that you just described.
It's not complicated.
It's not complicated, right? It's very simple. It's very easy. Right. So, and another problem, even in our own Muslim community, right? We see girls or, their fathers, they're putting the dowries very high, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is not
the bridal gift.
It's not always necessary, right? Like, look, for example, right? We have Mehr, right? The woman's dowry, gift. Right? She can ask for whatever she wants.
This is her right.
This is her right, right? But don't get me wrong. But you have a difference between a woman. She knows that's her right, but she's gonna respect the man, because let's say the man is making $50K a year. She's not gonna ask for a $50K dowry, right? If she's respectable to the man. But there are women who will do that, and if not, they'll ask for more than that, because they'll be like, a man will buy a house, but he can't spend $500K on you, right? But then again, like, you're not respecting the man's, his pockets, right? You're making his pockets hurt. You're gonna make him go into debt over what? And you know what the problem is most of the time, right? The men, they'll pay for this dowry, and the woman, she's not even fulfilling the husband's rights.
Mm-hmm.
Now what? Now
and see it when taking into consideration of marriage, especially to the young Muslims out there, you have to be taking this into consideration. You now have a responsibility. This is a very big responsibility. Look, this partnership, this azwaj.
Our ummah, like our youth especially, like we have a skewed image of what marriage is supposed to look like. That's why a lot of people, they romanticize the idea of marriage. It's not like they want to be married. They just want like that picture perfect, social media filtered looking marriage. They don't want the responsibility that comes with marriage. The fact that you both have to care for each other, you both have to help each other get better on your deen. Like you have to, you're two human beings who are ultimately both trying to reach Jannah and both trying to help each other get there, because a team is better than like you by yourself.
Solo.
It's a commitment. Allah.
Yeah, it's a commitment. You don't ever see people like talking about the responsibilities of being in a married couple. They talk about, oh yeah, I want to go on these vacations, I want to travel,
Yes.
I want to do this and this and this with my spouse, and like you never hear them talking about what could go wrong, the bad things that could happen. Like you have no idea. The spouse you may choose might end up being one that's not right for you. Like it might be the difference between a zawj and imrat. Like you see that in the Quran. What did they call the wife of Lut? They call her Imrat Lut. Like they don't call her Lut because she died. She died upon the disbelief. Yeah. She died with the disbelievers. Mm-hmm. She wasn't his actual partner because she didn't follow what he said. She was okay with exactly what he was preaching against. Like he was preaching against an action, and she was okay with that action. So it's like you see exactly what the correlation between this.
And going back to the woman and the man's right. So we talked about the woman's rights to a dowry, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's say like, and we talked about how a woman should respect that, right? Her and the family, right? Like, especially if this is someone they're actually looking forward to get married to, not, just trying to run his pockets. But now let's go to the men's side, right? Like, what you said before, Arujal qawamin al nisa, right? Mm-hmm. The men are the maintainers and protectors of women, right? Mm-hmm. So when we think about that, right? Let's say a woman's, his wife, right? Her dad is sick. She wants to go visit him. The husband has the right to tell her no. You can't do that. Because, he has the final say. But would a real respectable man really tell her no for no reason just because he has the power to? You see what I'm trying to say here?
Exactly. That's not a respectable man. He's not respecting his authority that Allah has given him. That's you. Like
and that's just in choosing.
You're taking advantage of that. Like this is an authority Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you over your wife. But it's not something to be abused. Does Allah abuse His power over you? Allah says if He were to punish you as soon as you do a sin, there would be nothing left. Nothing would be here. We'd all be dust. Like. So don't try to abuse your power as a man or a woman over a man. It doesn't matter. Like don't try to abuse the power that you are given.
And if you're merciful, Allah's going to be merciful on you.
Yeah.
But see, a problem with this society is that the men, they blame the women they blame the men. The women, they say that the men aren't men, and the men say the women aren't women. Like, oh, she's not going to take care of me, this, that, or he doesn't have enough money for me. He can't take care of me, or he can't handle it. Like, a'udhu billah. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you guys are just blaming each other. You guys are supposed to be in partnership, in agreement. It's not a battle to see who can outdo the other.
Exactly.
Look at the fitna that we're living in. We're living in a society where men, they praise women for being half naked, and women, they praise men for being less men. Like they praise like men for femininity. For being feminine, for being less masculine.
Like we live in a feminist. Like
they like men who color their nails, who wear dresses. Like you like these imitators of like. Imitators of women. Like
this reminds me of something I saw on TikTok. It was like some guy who was like, men are made to be submissive, and then girls were reacting to the video talking about some slay, I'll provide for the man, I'll do this and that. Like
like dude, you can't do nothing but laugh at
but then you can't don't be in disappointment when things don't go your way, the way that you're imagining things. Like, yeah, you can try and all these things, but it's just make believe. It's just fairy tale, right? I'm not saying like there's not women out there who can't provide and protect, right? Dude, like let's say like single mothers, for example, right?
Like dude, they're so like wallahi, they're good. Like single mothers that they provide. Like I'm not saying that they can't do that, but what I'm saying is in a traditional marriage, an Islamic based marriage, the men are the caretakers of women. I mean, that's not say the woman has to stay in the house, she can't have a job, she can't see sunlight. Like no, this is messed up ideology.
This is not Islam.
That's not Islam.
This is the picture the West paints of Islam.
Yeah, that's what they're painting. Like Khadijah RA, she was a whole businesswoman.
She was wealthy.
She had the money.
Yeah.
Is she? But you know what she also was? She supported the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. She was the only one who had his back when Angel Jibreel came down.
Yeah, she was the only one.
Who did he go to? He went to Khadijah.
Yeah, he went to Khadijah. He said, cover me. And he kept saying what happened? What's going on? What is this? And she comforted him. She gave him good tidings, saying Allah would not
imagine a spouse like Allah subhanahu.
Dude, because look, in today's society, people are like, I want to marry her because she's beautiful. I want to marry her because of this. No, shut up. You're marrying her because of lust. That's not because you actually like her.
That's only a portion of a marriage is a commitment. Just if you do it out of lust, it will end.
In Islam, Islamically speaking, what are we supposed to find in marriage? Peace. This is that something you can look at? If I look at a woman, can I just see peace in her? You see what I'm trying to say?
I see. I understand.
Brings the notion this brings the notion that we were talking about when we said, oh yeah, people think that as soon as you sign those nikah papers, as soon as you guys are married, as soon as everything is halal, you complete half your deen. No, half your deen is completed because, like we said, you get closer to Allah as a result of you being married. You lower your gaze. You're drawn to incline towards good and towards the truth.
You can start a family.
Yeah, exactly. You start a family. You have children who will pray for you.
You build a community.
You build a community of more Islam. You spread Islam throughout your family, throughout your progeny. That's what will complete half your deen. And the other half is you being fearful of Allah. Truly seeking fearful. His mercy and all this. All of this together, that completes your deen. But just like anything you do in life, you have to work for. Marriage is also a job. You have to work towards that. You have to work to provide for your spouse, both of you, in a sense, for your spirituality. You're not just gonna get better on your deen just because you signed those papers. Because remember what he said? If you're in a haram relationship and if you guys make a halal, shaitan will leave. So then things might turn bad.
Perfect. Yeah, this is the perfect example here. The shaitan, right?
He beautifies
the whole relationship. People think that, the first 6 months, that's why, they call it the honeymoon phase, right? They think the first 6 months of them dating, everything is fine. But why after, we make things halal, or after a little while, why does everything just, crumple and fall apart? Because look, you spent the whole entirety of your relationship being something that you're not. Imagine the first 6 months, they go out together, they're going out together. She's looking her best 30 minutes into an hour, even the whole day, sometimes, beautifying herself, practicing what she's going to say to him, and vice versa. The man is doing exactly the same thing, right? But then once they actually get to know each other, why does everything just fall apart? Because the shaitan makes these things beautiful. The shaitan makes these things apparent. But once everything is halal, once everything is right, the shaitan leaves. And then what will happen? Now you see the beautification left. You see now the reality is here, and what are you going to do now?
Yeah, that's the thing. With haram relationships, they're actually bad for you. They're not good for you. You have to seek to make it halal as soon as you can.
And because to make it halal, this is talking to the men. You have the responsibility of doing this, of going and speaking to her father, or a mahram, out of respect. This is true dignity and a dignified way to approach a woman in Islam. You go and seek out a mahram. You speak with them. Then you can get to know this woman through their
with their permission.
Their permission.
Yeah,
yes.
Because haram relationships.
Don't sneak around.
Because haram relationships, man, it's literally with any type of sin, from the most minor to the most major. It's a domino effect. As soon as you push that one domino, the rest are gonna start falling. And that biggest one, what's that biggest one in a haram relationship? It's zina. And we know but there's multiple types of zina. But we know the zina that we're talking about. This is a scary thought, because you do not want to fall into this type of sin, because for one, once you fall into it, the level of regret that you will have after, especially if you're someone who turns back to Allah, that level of regret, that's also from shaitan. Shaitan will not leave you. Even after you've repented for a sin, he will not leave you.
He's going to make you think that it's too big.
Make you think, you're gonna start thinking,
you're just going to fall into it.
Man, I committed this sin, man. Allah's never gonna forgive me. All this type of stuff. Man, if only I could go back in time and I could relieve myself, never do that sin, never get with this girl or whatever. Shaitan will always try to come back to you, even if you're trying to do well for yourself.
It's just you're just trying to chase instant gratification because you're a little boy. You don't know how to go about things the right way.
Yeah.
And then you're going to feel that regret afterwards. Why you feel that regret? And it's zina or premarital. It's a big immorality.
Yeah.
So it's such an immorality. It's the reason why we see most of the problem. Y'all not ready for that. Well, y'all are ready for that conversation, but y'all not ready for that conversation. Such a big immorality, and a reason. It's a reason for a lot of the problems we have in our world today.
Yeah, because it kind of relieves you of your humanity if you think about it. If you're someone who you have, for one, you have no humility within yourself to respect yourself, and you have no humility or respect towards the person, the people you do it with. Like if you're someone who wants to go around and keep doing zina or whatever, then like you have no respect.
Bro, just think about it like this, right? Like my non-Muslim teacher was talking about this. Like this is when I was in high school. She gave this example. Just imagine you're telling this person, I love you and this and that. And like, you're being intimate with them, but wait, you're like number 76. Like, how is that gonna make them feel? Like, no one wants to be with a person like that. You've slept around, you've done this and that. Like, why would someone ever want to be with that? Especially a man looking at a woman. Like, you hear this a lot. You hear men look at a woman's past and a woman looks at a man's future, right? No man is gonna want a girl like that, right? And if he does, he's just looking for the lust, there in the beginning. And then once he gets what he wants, he's out of there. And then, then he's gonna try and settle down with the woman. And she's gonna be. And then
it's also like it also brings in the fact: why would I get married when I can just have the sexual gratification from anyone I want, the emotional support from anyone I want? Like it also takes the love out of a marriage and love for a woman that you would endear for and care for the rest of your life.
I wanna address a couple of points that are made in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One being, you know how Allah says good men are for good women, right?
Yeah.
So when we take that verse as Muslims, we should not be thinking, okay, I'm a good person, I'm gonna get a good spouse. Like that's not always the case, because some people they're good people, like, but then they end up getting in maybe an abusive relationship or in like abusive marriage, or they get in or a man who gets in a marriage and the wife cheats on him or something like that. Like these are tests from Allah also. It's like, but you will be rewarded for that type of thing. Like don't always expect something, because this is Allah you're talking about. Allah knows you don't. So you can't expect something to go your way, because Allah's plan may be different, and Allah may avert a crisis for you in doing that. Like, and also another verse, the fornicator for the fornicator. People seem to think that if someone has committed zina in their life, that okay, they're only going to marry someone who's committed zina, but that's also not the case. That's the case for someone who's committed zina and they have not repented for it. See, if
even so, a lot of people might not know this. If you are a person who's committed zina and you have repented and you have averted, like you've asked Allah for forgiveness for your mistakes, you don't say that when you want to get married.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to say that. You are not obliged to tell someone that you've committed zina.
That's actually something you theoretically, you can lie about. You can say no. Shameful, if they ask you, you could say no, because you're not supposed to expose that type of sin.
Yeah, well. And like a lot of people don't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and people really don't know that. And I always say, like, for me, if that was to happen, I'd be like, no, I don't want to know, because if I see that they're a good Muslim, like if this woman is a good Muslim and I see that she's on her deen, there would be nothing that would oblige me to even ask that question.
Well, then again, like I said, you would, if you knew that about her, you would look at her worse.
Exactly. I was gonna ask that question. Like, what if you found out a woman that you were interested in had committed zina? What would you do? But but you could see now by her character, she's doing better. Like she's striving to be a better Muslim, just as we are every single day.
Lie is very subjective, but like, who am I to tell you that you're a bad person and slander you?
No, see, the thing is, neither way would be wrong. If you were to say yes, then you're okay. But if you were to say no, you're still okay, because it's your personal preference. It's a subjective thing. Like, obviously, no matter if you were to find out about someone's past, you look at them differently. If
anyone were to know your deepest and darkest secrets, they'll look at you 100% differently.
Especially if that past doesn't line up with your standards. But see, we're not perfect either. Us as human beings, like only Allah knows exactly what we do when we're by ourselves, or when we're in public, or what goes on in our mind, what goes on in our heart, all this type of stuff. Only Allah knows. So you wouldn't want to humiliate someone if you found out about them, because Allah will humiliate you. And he makes that evident to you. Like if you humiliate someone, he will humiliate you.
Just imagine though, you humiliate this person a lot of times behind their back. And that's even worse than the zina.
Yeah, that's worse than.
And imagine it's more common than the zina too. People are out here backbiting this and that, and you don't even realize what you do.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
It's out of arrogance as well. You want to talk bad about someone when you think just because the people don't know your deepest and darkest secrets, Allah will expose you. Who do you think you are,
bro? The khutbah I went to a couple weeks ago, it's crazy that you brought that up, because I was just thinking about that. He said, the imam from the khutbah, he said, backbiting and slander is a sin worse than zina. And I was sitting there like, no, like that's crazy. And then he kept bringing up the ayah from Surah Hujurat, like it's like eating the flesh of your brother. And then also the hadith that speaks about the punishment of the people who used to backbite and slander. And I was sitting there like, this is crazy. Like Allah hates these people. Like you're out here making a mockery of your brothers and sisters. These are humans just like you, even if they're not Muslim. These are humans just like you. They were in the womb of their mothers just like you. There's nothing that separates you and them right now.
Yes, especially
because you haven't gotten your kitab yet.
You haven't gotten your kitab yet.
Yeah. What is Allah saying? Surah Haqqa, the people who get their kitab in the right or the left hand, like you haven't gotten your kitab
you haven't
yet.
gotten your, like I think about it like this: someone's still living. Why would you judge someone before they even finish their test? You gave them their grade. Who made you the judge all of a sudden?
Bro, exactly, dude. Look, listen. What can you do on a test? You can go back and you can erase your old answers once you realize that it's wrong.
Like, well,
yeah, because we haven't turned in the test until we died.
And these people, all they do is have a mouth. They want to sit there and strut arrogantly, as if they're not a human as well, as if they can't be destroyed, as if they can't fall in the same exact position as them, as if they're somehow higher than them.
It's even going to be even more humiliating. They're talking about this person behind their back. Now imagine on the day of judgment when that person comes back to take your good deeds from you, and you're left with nothing. How humiliated are you going to be on that day?
Judgment will come to you.
See, I know this topic right now is a curveball, but it's huge because for one, I see it a lot, especially like with people on social media. It's like this backbiting and this slander. People take the quote from Umar ibn al-Khattab saying, "Oh yeah, we judge by what is apparent." But what does that truly mean? People don't understand what that means. People think that, oh, judge means, oh yeah, you're out here speaking about Islam, but you're not wearing a hijab, or shaitan is confused, or this and that. They're speaking bad about another Muslim. This is your Muslim.
What are we supposed to do in Islam? 70 excuses for our brother. Where is this? Where is this? You know,
Yeah,
why are people quoting
this?
this? People love to quote Umar ibn Khattab about this hadith. Like, they like to take things to the next level. But, where is this? Or how about the fact that in Islam, you're supposed to cover the sins of your brothers and sisters, and even the fact of your family members, like especially your family members. You're supposed to give every reason why they're not a bad person, not the opposite.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here looking at like people who may comment on someone's post and say something bad. I'm sitting here like, man, why do you think you're better than them? Who told you you're better? Did your father tell you you're better? Because Allah tells you don't follow what your forefathers say. Like, you follow what you believe, and what you believe is what Allah has said and what the Prophet ﷺ did. That is what we follow. And when in any detail of the Prophet's story did you see that he did any of that?
Yeah, when did you see
that he spoke bad about anybody?
Yeah, like subhanAllah.
He said follow from the best of people. He's the best of people. So like, I really don't get it, and it's a topic because like especially as men, we like to bring our women down for some reason. I see mostly men in comments of women on apps like TikTok where they comment on a woman who's not wearing hijab and she makes herself know that she's a Muslim, and then they comment these bad things about her and like they bring her down. Like, what if you really want to be someone who's uplifting as a Muslim? Why don't you encourage them? Be like, may Allah help you to adopt the hijab, because obviously everybody knows that the hijab is mandatory. It's mandatory upon women.
Like, I'm sure that the women know, but you antagonizing them and ridiculing them and trying to bring them down, like this is like, wallahi, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, men deserve much of the blame for what is happening to our women today. Like,
of course they do.
Think about how many fatherless homes there are. Where are the men at?
You know why? Because a lot of zina.
Because a lot of zina, like promiscuity. Because the men think that they can just sleep around.
They sleep around, then they look at another woman. This woman is dressed half naked. He starts lusting after her. Then they move on to the next, and it's just a repeated cycle.
They can't lower their eyes. They can't even control themselves. Think about how much like danger you're in. How limited you are, where you can't even put your eyes to the floor when you see a woman. Like, could you imagine? Like, men are much to blame for this.
And if you can't even put your eyes to the floor, like when looking at a woman, because Allah told you and the Prophet told you, then how much humility do you have when you're looking at the floor trying to prostrate to Allah, knowing that you can't keep your eyes down when you're looking at a woman?
Or how about this? The fact in
what were you gonna say?
No. Don't worry, I got you. Throw me the ooh. Bruh, think about the Allah, God, He's always watching you. You think you can get away with like just a glance here or there? Like in the Quran, it says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Don't even like think about this. Like, it doesn't say don't do it. It says don't go near it. So like, what is going near it?
There's multiple forms. Tell us some of the forms.
It starts with the look, zina of the mouth, zina of the ears, zina of the eyes, the eyes,
zina of the touch, and then the actual form of zina. Like, those are all forms of zina. They're more minor than zina, but they lead to the major. They lead to it, and Allah says, the thing is, near it. One of the things about that is like, yes, you can always repent. You're always going to repent, but the thing about repentance
is you have to
avert yourself from that sin. Like you repent for the sin, and that means you have to actively try to stay away from it.
It's like
if you actively try to stay away from it and then you fall into it, Allah will keep forgiving you because He's made that evident. If you keep falling into a sin out of weakness, you keep being forgiven, especially if
this
you
is out of human weakness, not arrogance.
Yeah,
don't think,
arrogance.
oh, Allah will forgive me. Don't worry. Don't worry, shorty. Like
don't think. Oh yeah, I'm gonna like. Your friend tells you, oh yeah, look at that girl over there, and you look at her. And you're like, and you go repent for it. Then the next time it happens again, you look at it, even though you know.
With zero remorse.
Yeah,
like,
zero.
Like, come on,
exactly.
man.
Zero thought of the fact that Allah is watching you.
But hold on. You know what's so crazy about a lot of these men that do this? If I was to be like, what if someone was to do that to your sister? Oh, I'll kill them. But look at you.
Like, okay.
You're being a hypocrite.
Like, could you, for the men out there who have sisters and mothers and aunties, like, your mahram, like, how would you feel if you knew other men were staring at them like this? Do you have no like protective like ghira? You have no
ghira.
Like you don't feel angry towards the men who would want to do your like the donkeys that would want to look at your woman like this? Could you like all right, and let's transition this. Let's address the parents to make the solution to all of this hard. The parents who are very picky for their daughters or their sons
is not respectable.
Like,
well, look,
look.
There's
and like ones who force people into marriage.
We're losing the middle ground right now. Like, what did he say? We take the middle path, right? See, some parents they force things upon their children, and some parents extremes. They do nothing. Some parents they're lacking. Like, bro, you forgot that your children are also a means of you entering Jannah. Like, there are so many means for you entering Jannah. Like, as for your children. As a child, like me as a child, my mother is part of the reason I can make it to Jannah. Like if I don't please my mother,
a father's daughter is one of the reasons he can what's one of the most blessed things for a father is to have a daughter.
Is to have a daughter. Because like you have to instill that like protective jealousy over her, just like you do it over your wife. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, there's no way in my life I could even imagine like having a daughter who is lacking because I'm lacking. Like I can't see that happening. Mm-hmm. I see it everywhere. Like I understand, man. People everybody has their own outlook on like the hijab or whatever. I don't. I know exactly what I want for if I were to have a daughter, if I have my sister, if I have my mom, like because I know I'm not gonna be tried on the day of judgment for this. Because you will be tried if you were to see a wrongdoing and you weren't to speak up about it. Especially in your family. Like you only get one family. Out of everything that you are given in this world, you get one family. Mm-hmm. You get one set of parents. You don't get another set of parents. Your parents in general are going to be the same parents you have here. Mm-hmm. Like,
here's the thing. You talk a lot about family values, and Islam values family values very highly. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Like right after Allah is, to respect your parents and, your family, right? Mm-hmm. So look, think about this. What is the thing that shaitan is happy about? Divorce. Divorce, is it haram?
And that's one of the most.
It's not haram. But look, listen. Here's the thing about it. Divorce. When you separate a couple, when you separate a mother and a father from their children, especially now, what you create a chaos in the family, then you create chaos in the community, then the community creates chaos in the nation, and then the nation creates chaos in the whole world.
And now it's chaos.
And now look at the tricks of the shaitan, and then from that we get, broken homes, lost alcoholics,
drug addicts, homeless
depressed people.
Homeless people, female promiscuity. They think they have to go and find themselves after they lost their love.
People who turn to everything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever they've gone through something of this magnitude, because divorce is huge.
It's huge. Wallahi, this is also another reason why you should try to stay away from haram relationships. Imagine you love this girl so much for years and years and years on end, and then you guys end up splitting apart just because it was haram. Allah didn't want that for you. Like you can go through what's called actually like a mini depression.
Yeah,
like that. Like that's why we're talking. It's a serious topic. We actually have to talk about it because you can really be messed up with that one decision that you made to stay with that woman, in a forbidden manner. Could mess up your life for the rest of it. You can become depressed, start drinking alcohol, turn to other than Allah. Like you've lost yourself, you lost your sense of religion, of humanity, you lost your sense of family. You don't trust anyone anymore. Like just from that one decision, you realize how crazy that is. Like a domino effect.
Here's the thing I want to talk about: female promiscuity. What do a lot of people have to say in Islam is the idea of polygamy, right? Mm-hmm. People have such a problem with polygamy. But then again, what do you do with, let's say, a lot of divorced women or widows? You just let them go and fall into promiscuity? Like, is this the solution? Because this is exactly what's going on today. You see a lot of women,
you're saying
they can't find a spouse. They fall into promiscuity. They
Yes.
start going to strip clubs. They start selling their bodies. They start making OnlyFans, this and that. Like nothing is respectable about them anymore, right? Because they need to provide for themselves or whatever it may be, right? They want to fill this void that they, with whatever they can fill it with. And the same thing with the man. Why do men always cheat on women? Why do men cheat way more than women? Because men are created in a certain way. Well, they're polygamous by nature, right? But why is it that a lot of people have such a problem with polygamy?
Well, because
People have a problem with anything
right now. Right? Yeah, they have a problem. Dude, they have a problem with
but
believing
like,
in God. What are you talking about?
just think about it. You're talking about promiscuity, right? But when you take out polygamy,
When
you're just left with promiscuity.
Are you asking me like, why do people have a problem with polygamy?
Yes.
Well, first, it's the system. Well, it's systematic. Men aren't seen to prevail. Like the system doesn't want men to be men anymore. And even so, like they want the women to be independent and by themselves. Like even like think about it now. You're from the moment you're
born. But then
born,
again, they're not going to be independent by themselves. Like I said, they're going to fall into these types of things. And what?
Like even think about it. From the moment you're born, you're institutionalized. You're thrown into a hospital. They take your measurement. They take your data. They throw you into a school, and now you can't. You're you're subject to school because why? Because your mom is an independent woman. She can't take care of you. Your father, who knows where he is, and then like it's crazy. It's a systematic. I truly believe
the same exact things.
I truly believe it's not men and women's fault. Like objectively, like it's just them two, like a men and women's fault. I believe it is systematically the world has failed. We don't have the world needs Islam.
We have the Quran and the Sunnah, but people want to be so oblivious to it. They want to be so oblivious to it. They want to find everything but Islam.
Because think about it. What's the better alternative? The marriage system in the West or the marriage system in Islam? The marriage system in Islam. Think about how many the birth rates for Muslim families is higher than any other.
Here's the thing I wanted to touch upon, and especially here. Well, look at the divorce rates here in America. Very, very high. But then again, what is the issue? It's not the idea of marriage. It's the way people are going about it. You are not doing an Islamic marriage. You're not following by the Quran and the Sunnah. Don't be disappointed when your marriage is falling apart and people. You guys are ending up getting married both in your 40s. She's thinking about the time she had with number 32. You're thinking about the time you had with number 54. And now you get like your marriage is just broken. There's no specialty in it. Like you guys ran the game before. Like imagine getting into that many relationships. Like your heart is like dead at that point. Like life's feel bad.
See, but also think about people who get divorced and then they also find like that second spouse is like the one. That's the one for them. But see, it's not like you'll be thinking about the other spouse. You've learned because you've went through it the right way, but it just didn't work out. And that's okay. A real lesson. That's a real lesson. That's like, okay, I understand what went wrong here. And now the next time I find like love.
And the difference between that is Satan, Shaitan. He wasn't involved in that.
Allah says to the Prophet ﷺ, if he was to get rid of all of his wives, he would replace them with women who have already been in marriages before. He didn't say virgins. What's the value in that, right? Imagine, people out here slandering divorced women. But even the Sunnah is to marry the widowed. The divorced, exactly. This is the Sunnah, but I'm talking about exactly. Why people look down upon divorced women so much? Like they think it's disgusting.
There's no problem with this.
No, there's no problem. Would you guys marry a divorced woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I would even take one as a second wife.
wait. Okay, would you guys marry a woman who hasn't adopted hijab yet?
It's subjective.
So look, listen.
But when it comes
to let's say a woman, is she trying or like she says no?
Well, it depends. The time you met her, she's not wearing it yet.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Because you think that she'd adopted by the time you're married. Because that's my thing. My thing is if I see
my job
her,
is to convey the message.
Yeah, like my thing is if she doesn't wear it at the time that I meet her, okay. But if she doesn't plan to wear it by the time we're married, then I'm gonna be like, no, I can't because look, I have to have some ghira over you, and I can't be a day youth. If I request that you wear hijab when we're married and you don't, then I have the right to divorce you. Like said right there.
I have the right not to marry. Look, exactly. Hold on first. Here, I'm gonna give you my answer, but allow me to explain. No, I would not marry a woman who has not adopted hijab. Now, my reasoning for it is, if she has if her father, given that her father is alive and well, given that her mother, she has brothers, I am joining two families together. And I don't want to join my family with men, with her mahrams who haven't like even had the lead or tried, or at least tried. This is subjective. Like I'm saying, maybe they haven't tried to tell her to adopt the hijab. Like these are the type of people I'm going up to and talking to. Like
and he doesn't mean forcing them. He means like the mahrams need to be like
have to have at least
like let her know like
sense. Yes,
you know what the Quran says.
The message.
Like any woman who doesn't know what the Quran says, then you're not like, doing your job.
I'm joining my family with her family, and we're creating new bonds, connections with each other. I just want my bonds and connections to be with people who would have a sense to encourage their women, who have men who have some sense to encourage their women to hijab. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. This is given all on this subjective basis. Maybe she doesn't have a father. Maybe her father has died. Maybe her father is not with her, or her brothers, like she doesn't have any male role. Like maybe all this considering, yes, I will.
It all depends.
It all depends. It's subjective. That's what I said at the beginning. But that's my answer to the question ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I never look down on someone like that because for one, I'm not in your family. I don't know what's going on in your life. Like I can only speak for the women in my family for the most part. And if they were going through that, then I'd have that conversation with them because I'm looking at it like, bro, I know exactly what men do when I leave this house. I know what men do to women who are not covered up. And I'm not gonna have that with my sister or my mother. Like that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna have that with my cousins. Like I don't need none of that. I don't need that with my aunt. Like anybody in my family who's close to me, who's directly related to me, I don't need that. Any woman, like it's not gonna work for me because I'm gonna be looking there like I know exactly what these men are doing when we leave the house because I am a man and I know exactly what men are inclined to. So I'm not gonna be stupid. I'm not gonna be blind. Like I know exactly what shaitan is trying to do, and I know exactly where we live in America. There's shaitans everywhere. There's like these jinns. They're everywhere.
It's a higher
fitna. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a higher responsibility for us,
and we can't make it difficult upon them. Like we can't force them up into it. But you know, you could encourage them, especially for these men who are out here on social media, like trying to give these fatwas to women, talking about you need to start wearing hijab or shaitan is confused about what you're doing or whatever. Doing that's a sin upon you as well because you're trying to drive them away. Indeed, some assumption is a sin. Like you may say something about someone, but they may be better than you. You have no idea. Just because they may not be wearing hijab doesn't mean they might not be better than you. You have no idea, bro. Like, and I mean that with the utmost respect for anybody because I have no idea. This is why I try to be very selective with the words that I try to give, especially if I'm out here trying to advise someone. If I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna make a dua. That's it, because that's the easiest way to do it. That's me letting you know, like I see exactly what's going on. You may be struggling.
That's the most you can do for them.
Exactly. I'm gonna try to say a prayer for you. That's it. Like I'm not gonna slander you. I'm not gonna backbite you. I'm not gonna speak bad about you. I'm not gonna do any of that because I know if that were to be the same situation for me, I wouldn't feel right. I'd feel like my own Muslim brothers and sisters out here trying to like out to get me because I know these kuffar, they don't care about none of that. They don't care how someone is dressed. Like, but my own Muslim brothers and sisters, they care about that.
If anything, they want you to take it
exactly.
off.
Like, don't try to encourage someone to do bad by ultimately advising them the wrong way. But yeah, with that being said, that's closing out this entire episode. Speaking about marriage and like
the overall subject.
The overall subject of like
not finished. This is just scratching the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
we'll be back. We'll be back.
Like there is more that we could say, but no, the episode would go too long, and I don't want that. But you know, with that being said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, guys. Just want to let you guys know we're not scholars, still students of knowledge, and make sure you guys like this, share this with your families, your friends and families. You know, you don't know whose life you can change by them hearing our message, right? Calling to the message of Islam, and alhamdulillah, the da'wah is expanding. That being said, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.